Hello everybody, Jonathan Pulley here with West Coast Weather. Today is February 4th and we're going to talk about this dangerous and damaging cyclone that's affecting much of the California state right now. You can see the powerful atmospheric river that's bringing torrential rainfall and very heavy rainfall rates to much of Southern California, including Ventura, Santa Barbara, and LA counties. This will start moving south and start meandering over much of the LA County area over the next couple of days, bringing some very damaging flooding rains with potential locally catastrophic rainfall according to the National Weather Service down there as well. And there's also been some very strong and damaging winds up near the National Weather Service Bay Area and also the Sacramento region as this cyclone starts moving into the coastline, bringing that very strong pressure gradient. The San Francisco airport has allegedly already gotten gusts over 70 miles per hour, which is incredibly strong winds for this part of the world. So definitely a very damaging storm, and this video is going to be mainly focused on this storm. And we're also going to take a very quick look at the extended forecast, but it looks like we're going to get a bit of a break as we go through later next week and into next weekend. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now we're taking a look at the observed max wind gusts throughout today for California. You can see that Sacramento in the last couple hours has been getting gusts 60 to 66 miles per hour, with some of the higher elevations of the California coastline and north of the Bay Area and south of the Bay Area approaching 70 to 90 mile per hour wind gusts. You can see this 87 mile per hour wind gust just south of San Jose up there in the higher terrain. There's been some gusts down here along the coastline that have been approaching over 60 to 80 miles per hour. Look at here right along this highway over here with 85 miles per hour, 88 up here along some of the Cape areas. This is a very damaging windstorm, and there's already millions of people out of power, which I'll show you here in a second. But you can see that this is a very widespread event and it's spreading over much of California. And you can see if we go all the way down to Los Angeles, you can see some of those strong winds also popping up in the San Luis Obispo and Santa Barbara areas, as well as some gusts 60 to 70 miles per hour in the higher terrain. So a very damaging windstorm. And you can see just as of 5:55 p.m. right now, you can see that there's 790,000 customers out of power right now, and that equates to about 2 million people out of power already. And there's likely to be a few more power outages as we go through later tonight into tomorrow, especially with the heavy rainfall over Los Angeles causing possible rock slides and damage the power poles and such down there. Now looking at the European model, we can see that our strong cyclone is off the California coast right now. Let's go to right about now. You can see that the cyclone has basically reached its highest, the strongest strength right now, right around the low 980 millibar range. It possibly got into the 970 millibar range, but it's a very strong cyclone nonetheless, and it's going to weaken as we go through later on Monday to Tuesday, but still some very heavy torrential rainfall starting to continue into parts of Monday and Tuesday for parts of Southern California. Now looking at 10-meter wind gusts, this is about 5 to 6 p.m. right now. You can see the strongest winds are already starting to let up for the San Francisco area, which the NAM had some 60 to 70 mile per hour wind gusts around the Bay Area, and that did happen around this time frame. So there's lots of power outages as we saw a little bit ago, but you can see that it's still going to remain very strong winds along parts of the northern California coastline, some of those northern valleys in the higher terrain, and also in Southern California along those transverse ranges. But really the main wind event is over right now, and we're transitioning to mainly an emergency flood event for much of the California, Southern California coastlines. Now looking at 1 hour precipitation totals on the NAM 3 cam, I want to show you some of these really high rainfall rates, and the high rainfall rates is what really leads to those mudslides and landslides as very heavy rainfall falls over a very short period of time. And you can see the max precipitation in 1 hour starting to approach over 1 inch per hour. So some very torrential downpours possible. And look at this, some of these mountain ranges just to the east of Los Angeles just continues to have the half inch to an inch rainfall rates as we go through later on Monday before finally that kicks out. But even as we go through Tuesday, look how you see how this becomes more showery in nature, and this is going to lead to potential thunderstorms and even the isolated water spout / weak tornado potential also on Tuesday. So lots to talk about. Now looking at the HRRR model, now we're looking, this is also mean sea level pressure. And as we play this through, you can see that the cyclone on the HRRR also strengthened to about 981 millibars, which is a very strong cyclone for this part of the world. And you can see that's going to continue to move northward and weaken, but that's still going to allow this precipitation to linger over Southern California and leading to some major and life-threatening flash flooding issues. Now looking at the NAM3 cam, this is the composite reflectivity, or what the radar may look like. And you can see as we go through later this evening, you can see this potent atmospheric river with those very heavy rainfall rates banking up against those higher terrains and those, some of those transverse mountains. That's because this moisture is rather shallow in atmospheric rivers. So when that moisture banks up against those higher terrain, it causes all that moisture to get wrung out, and anything else that gets moves past these mountains then gets pushed into the Sierra Nevada mountains, where it's producing some very heavy snowfall rates up there. But you can see as the low pressure system moves up over Northern California, you can see it's also bringing some pretty heavy precipitation rates over there. But look at this stream of moisture that just continues to flow all the way through Tuesday in Southern California before finally kicking out. But as I just talked about, you can see that some of these potential thunderstorms and maybe potential water spouts start moving on to parts of the Southern California coastline. The water spout / tornado threat is not the main issue with this storm system, but it's an added variability. So you can see that this is going to bring even more torrential downpours as we go through later Tuesday into Wednesday. So you get those thunderstorms with enhanced precipitation rates. Now looking at the national blend of models, this is the total precipitation in inches. You can see as we go through later on Tuesday, you can see some of these mountains near Los Angeles approaching 10 to 14 inches of rainfall. That is a ton of rain for this part of the world, and you can see that even Los Angeles is approaching 4 to 6 inches of rain. So flash flooding is almost like a guarantee for these locations over the next couple of days, and there's already been flash flood warnings for parts of Ventura and Santa Barbara counties and western LA counties as well. Now looking at total snowfall in inches, if we play this out, you can really see all the snow really pile up in the Sierra Nevadas, and after the system moves through, there's already going to be another additional like 4 to 6 feet of snow in some of those higher terrain areas. Now looking at the composite reflectivity up close in Southern California, you can see LA over here and Santa Barbara and Ventura counties over here. San Diego's right down here, and here's Mexico and the Baja California Peninsula right there. And if we play this out, you can really see in this the NAM is updating right now actually, and I haven't really looked at this model yet, so you can just see, man, this precipitation just remains over the area just for over 36 hours before finally kicking out on Tuesday. And this is why we're so worried about landslides, mudslides, flash flooding, all sorts of that stuff associated with this rain, because this heavy rain is going to be remaining for a very long time. And models have been trending slower with this atmospheric river getting out, which is not what we want to see, especially in situations like this. But then you can see even after the atmospheric river moves through, there's going to be potential for some strong to even severe thunderstorms moving in the parts of Southern California as we go through later Tuesday into Wednesday morning, bringing additional heavy precipitation to some areas. And now looking at the this is the I guess I have the same page up 2 times. Sorry about that. So now looking at total precipitation on the NAM, if I bring that up, you can see as we play this through, this is the first time I've looked at this update. But look at this. You can see that through Tuesday evening, it brings precipitation totals of 10 to 20 inches of rainfall to parts of the mountains near Los Angeles. That is just an incredible amount of water. And the total across all of California is well over trillions of gallons of water. So definitely a pretty major event happening. And you can see that around the LA metro area, you can see 4 to 6 inches of rainfall, which is also very extreme. San Diego's kind of getting out of the most rainfall, but definitely some isolated urban flooding issues down there, possible where 1 to 2 inches of rainfall is also likely. Now looking at the total precipitation on the HRRR model, and if we play this out, it paints a very similar picture. And as we play this through, you can just see it just continues to pile up. It really doesn't stop for a couple days straight. As we go through the 2-day time frame, you can see that the mountains also approaching over 2 to 14 inches of rainfall on the HRRR as well. And it will likely continue in the early on Wednesday as well. But you can see LA County approaching 3 to 6 inches on the HRRR as well. And now looking at the composite reflectivity on the HRRR now, we can look at and see if it agrees with the NAML, and you can see that this axis of moisture just remains over the region, maybe even a bit more than the NAM with some stronger cores, but sometimes the HRRR can overdo that. But you can see also the thunderstorm potential as well on Tuesday with the isolated water spout potential, and I'll talk about that right now. Now looking at the HRRR surface-based CAPE. So CAPE is basically just the amount of energy a thunderstorm has, a storm has have in the atmosphere. And you can see as we go through later on Tuesday, watch as this huge amount of CAPE, is that cold air from that low pressure system moves down over the region, and this is caught as its CAPE values to skyrocket later on Tuesday, and this is what's going to bring that thunderstorm threat. And look at all these colors on this map. Now looking at the lightning flash density, or where the HRRR thinks that a thunderstorm may be, you can see that there's going to be some isolated thunderstorm potential with the actual main frontal system through the next day. But then you can see as we go through Tuesday afternoon, you can really see those lines of thunderstorms starting to move onto the coastline, and there is potential for some tornado potential. And I'm going to show you this right now. This is the NAM 3KM, and we're looking at tornado parameters, and you can see that there was some threat on the coast of the central coast earlier today, but that did not happen. There was no tornadoes, at least reported. But as we go through later on Tuesday, watch as there's some potential that the NAM isn't really showing that potential that much right now, but there is an isolated potential for some water splash / weak tornadoes on Tuesday for parts of Southern California around the coastline. Now looking at the National Weather Service Weather Prediction Center, they have a day one excessive rainfall outlook, and they have introduced a high risk of excessive rainfall, which is very warranted with the amount of rainfall that the models are showing. And you can see that's basically from Ventura and Santa Barbara counties down just south of the LA County area, and this is for today. But they also have a second day excessive rainfall outlook for parts of the LA County down there as well. So definitely a very major flooding event incoming, as these high risks are very rare when issued. But you can see the excessive rainfall outlook also goes through the day 3 time frame. This is including Tuesday and early on Wednesday. That's when those thunderstorms move through, and that you can see that they're also highlighting that potential for more flash flooding on Tuesday as well. Now looking at some graphics from the National Weather Service. This is from Sacramento, California. This is showing the significant heavy snow over the Sierra Nevadas with 2 to 4 feet above 4 to 5,000 feet, 5 to 6 feet over the peaks, with wind gusts 65 to 80 miles per hour as well. So some very heavy snow over the next few days. Please do not be driving over the passes, as difficult to almost impossible driving conditions and road closures are certain. And looking at the wind gust forecast, you can see that they did forecast the 50 to 65 mile per hour winds over much of central and northern California, and they even showed the potential for those 80 plus mile per hour winds in some of the higher terrain as well. So some pretty crazy winds. And you can see the Los Angeles National Weather Service also had their peak wind gust map out through Monday, and you can see that they're also forecasting wind gusts over 85 miles per hour in some of the mountains, and that's where some of the heaviest rainfall and potential snowfall in those very higher peaks. So some very crazy weather conditions happening up in those mountains, and they're also showing the potential for some 50 to 60 mile per hour winds along the coastlines as well. But it looks like Los Angeles will mainly just have a rain threat rather than a major wind threat. And looking at the snow totals, you can see some of the higher terrain above 5 to 7,000 feet may get a few inches to all the way up to 2 to 5 feet on those highest peaks. So some pretty heavy snow where it is not rain. And now looking at the rain timing and intensity from the National Weather Service of Los Angeles, and you can see that the highest risk for life-threatening and damaging flooding is from early Sunday AM all the way through Monday morning, and potentially even continuing in some areas through later on Monday and early on Tuesday. But the main risk is as we go through later Sunday into Monday. And now looking at the total rainfall expected for the National Weather Service of San Diego, they just posted this afternoon showing the potential for some locally catastrophic flooding. And you can see that's for parts of Orange County, where 10 to 20 inches of rain is expected to fall in some of those higher terrains, with Los Angeles and Anaheim getting around 4 to 7 inches of rainfall in some of those areas near the foothills, also approaching 7 to 10 inches. So some very extreme rainfall that's going to to lead to some major flooding issues and potentially life-threatening and locally catastrophic flooding. Now looking at taking a quick look at the extended forecast in the wide view of things. Here's Washington, Oregon, California, British Columbia's up here, and here's California and Baja California down here. You can see our strong storm system bringing the atmospheric river into much of California. You can see the showers and stuff remain as we go through later on Wednesday, but most of it should kick out as we go through Wednesday. There's going to be some residual showers in some of the valleys and the mountains, producing some additional snowfall in the higher terrain as we go through later on Thursday before dying off. And then we look to get a break, maybe a weak frontal system moving into the Pacific Northwest later Friday night in the parts of Saturday and maybe in the early on Sunday. Other than maybe some rain and some light mountain snow, that's not going to bring that much impacts, but it looks like a big ridge of high pressure is going to build in after that for some potentially calmer weather. Now looking at the 6 to 10 day temperature outlook, this is valid for February 10th through the 14th from the National Weather Service Climate Prediction Center. And you can see that they're highlighting above average to near normal conditions for much of the immediate coastline, but you can see some of the interior mountain west being slightly below average as we go through this period, as that trough of low pressure kind of starts building out eastward over some of the interior mountains. And then you can see the 6 to 10 day precipitation outlook. They're starting to highlight below average precipitation potential for California as this major storm system moves through, because some drier weather as a ridge starts building over the region. Maybe some slightly above average precipitation for parts of Washington and British Columbia. Some systems move through, but now looking at the 14-day temperature outlook, February 12th through the 18th, you can see they're highlighting above average temperatures along the immediate west coast, with once again some below average temperatures potentially for the interior mountain west, as it looks like a ridge of high pressure is going to start building over parts of the coastline. And they're also highlighting the potential for below average precipitation over much of the Pacific Northwest and parts of the west coast, maybe slightly above average precipitation for California, but there's still plenty of time to look at this as we go, and we'll just continue to look at this and in future videos. Well, that's it for this video, everybody. Please stay safe out there and heed all watches and warnings. Some very dangerous and life-threatening flooding is expected over the next couple of days for much of Southern California, especially the coastline and those higher terrains where some locally catastrophic flooding. This is definitely an emergency situation, a very unique storm for California, and I know we got some flooding last year, but you can see that this storm system is starting to move up the coastline, and this atmospheric river is going to train over the same area for multiple days, and that's going to lead to that very dangerous flooding, potential mudslides, rock slides, and also some debris flows near the burn scar. So definitely a very serious storm system and not your average day winter storm in California. So please stay safe out there, take care, God bless, and I'll talk to everybody in the next video.